Hey there, Carlo from AYCB, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Tiny Towns, which is a city building game. In this game, you're going to be taking resources, adding them to your little 4x4 grid, which represents your town, and then you're going to be constructing buildings. The tricky part is, it's not always up to you which resources you get. Each round, a different player is going to be the master builder, and they're going to choose the resource that everyone has to take. But you're not going to forget about that, so when it comes back around to you and your master builder, you'll get your revenge. So stick around, let me show you how to play Tiny Towns. Each player gets their own 4x4 player board, which represents their town. And here we have the available building cards for this game. I've gone ahead and selected some of the more basic ones for the purpose of this tutorial, and the others will remain in the box. Each player gets dealt 2 of these pink monument cards, chooses one of them to keep, and then discards the other. This is a unique building that only you will have the opportunity to build during the game. More on the monuments later. Finally, determine the starting player, give them this master builder hammer, and you're ready to start. So in Tiny Towns, players are taking their turns simultaneously, gathering resources and constructing buildings to fill up their town. The game ends once everyone's town has been completed. Let me show you exactly how the turn structure works. First, the master builder will name one of the game's 5 resources: wood, wheat, brick, glass, or stone. Then, all players must take that resource cube and place it in an empty square on their town grid. Resources can never be moved to a different square on a later turn, and resources can only be removed by constructing a building. Limit of 1 resource per square. Once everyone has placed their resources, players may construct any buildings as long as they meet the requirements of the resources in the correct shape. Let's take a closer look at these building cards so I can explain it a little closer. So using the cloister as the example, in the top right we have the building type / color. Here we have the resources required and the shape that you must put the resources in. And then at the bottom we'll have the ability, which is just what the building actually does. If ever you see this green little cloverleaf symbol, that represents points. So to build this cloister, not only can you do this, but you can also do this, or even this. In other words, mirrored. As long as the configuration remains the same, you can think of this as a puzzle piece that you're rotating or flipping. When constructing a building, simply remove the applicable resources and place them in the general supply, then take the matching building and place it in one of the squares that was occupied by the resources you just removed. Just like any buildings in the display, you can build your monument at any time as long as you follow the same construction rules. Anyone who chooses to construct a building at this step will do so simultaneously as the other players while announcing what building is being built. Then the master builder hammer will get passed to the next player clockwise, and the next turn will begin. Play will continue this way with players taking resources and building buildings until, as I said, everyone's town is complete and the game ends. Once each square in your town is filled with resources and buildings, and you either cannot or choose not to construct any buildings, your town is considered complete, which means you're now out of the game. Once you're out, you can no longer place resources, and you also lose your turn as the master builder. If only one player is left in the game, they continue to take turns as the master builder, choosing the resource every single turn. When you complete your town, remove any unused resources. Only the buildings remain for scoring. Add up points from all your buildings based on the cards, then subtract 1 point for each empty space in your town. Remember to remove those unused resources before calculating your score. And of course, the player with the most points wins. In case of a tie, the player who had the fewest turns as the master builder wins. If it's still tied, the player with the fewest remaining empty spaces in their town wins. If it's still tied, the player with the most fed cottages wins. If it's still tied, players have to settle for sharing the victory. That's it for the basic rules. Now let me just go over a couple more things. Some cards, like the cottage, will refer to this symbol here, which is a food symbol. This symbol means the building must be fed in order to score points. Red buildings are the only ones that can be used for feeding, and often those red buildings aren't worth anything on their own. Remember, the symbol for points is this green cloverleaf. For example, the orchard feeds all buildings in the same row and column as any orchards you have. So in this example, these cottages would be fed, but these would not. The farm, however, feeds 4 food buildings anywhere in your town. So unfed cottages are worth nothing at the end of the game. Another thing I'd like to point out is these monument cards. Remember, these are optional, but think of it as a private objective. It's something that only you'll see, and even once you've built it and you've revealed it to the other players, no one else can build that monument. There are also a couple of variants in the rulebook, the cave rule as well as the town hall rules. So if you're looking for maybe a slightly less mean version of this, you can take a look at those in the rulebook. And that's how you play Tiny Towns. If you'd like to know my thoughts, check back next week for my video review as well as my written review at allyoucanboard.com. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and or leave a comment below. We'll respond as soon as we can. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.